Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Okay, so the con I just went to, I'm just gonna use this as like a whiteboard for me. Let me rotate this to make it a little bit, rotate. Okay, here we go, here we go. And I'm gonna pick a color I like. Here we go. Okay, this was Anime Impulse. Phoenix. So this is the con I just did. It was a 2-day con. Actually, what days was it? Let me pull up my calendar. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. Okay, so this was from August 3rd to 4th. So it was a 2-day convention in Phoenix, Arizona. So anyone who knows about anyone who knows anything about Arizona's fucking hot. So this is like one of the factors I want to talk about for sure, because I do think it made a big impact on like turnout and stuff like that. But I was there personally from hold on, let me put this. I was there, oh, that's really small. I was there personally from the 2nd to the 5th. So setup was on the 2nd, and then we flew back really early on the 5th. Unironically, fried eggs on the sidewalk, yeah. It got so hot, guys. The peak temperature was 116 degrees. Peak temperature, literally 116 degrees Fahrenheit. What the fuck is that in Celsius? I have no idea. Sorry, I'm an American. But it was really fucking hot. It was so hot. The one nice thing about Arizona is that, like, everywhere is air conditioned. It's not like California, where air conditioning is very depending on like location. Basically, public spaces will have air conditioning, but like private homes and like things like that won't always have air conditioning. But that's not the case in Arizona. They know Arizona's fucking hot. Everything has air conditioning. It's great. But being outside sucks dick, and that was a problem. That was a fucking problem. Because so anyone who doesn't know anything about Anime Impulse, like as a circuit, it is a convention circuit from California, 46 degrees Celsius. Okay, I'll put that into parentheses. There we go. Holy shit, that's really hot. That's how hot it was when I was in Laos recently. But yeah, so basically, anyone who doesn't know anything about Anime Impulse, it is a California circuit. It's originated from the first, I guess, Anime Impulse was Anime Impulse Los Angeles, which takes place in Los Angeles County in the Pomona Fairplex. So that's the origin of it, and then it expanded to Anime Impulse OC, and then Bay Area, San Diego, and this year is the first year that Anime Impulse has gone out of state. And we mentioned this before, like we being me and Kuno, we've talked about this, because they did a con in Seattle, and that was kind of like a hit or miss depending on who you were. So yeah, it's just like, you know, that kind of thing. So this was the first time they were in Arizona, in Phoenix, and I learned a lot actually talking to a lot of my friends about kind of the convention scene in Arizona and why it's the way that it is. So I want to talk about like all the factors that made the con turnout and success the way that it was. And I will say this first and foremost, I gotta say this, it's not entirely Anime Impulse's fault by any means. There's like a lot of external factors that they can't really control. I think the actual con itself was run perfectly fine for like the most part. There was like a couple things, but I think those couple things weren't even in Impulse's control. But yeah, so this is just, I'm gonna try to be as comprehensive as possible and not kind of like jump everywhere if possible. So bear with me while I try my best to like make this all coherent, okay? Let's just go in bullet point order of my con rating, like whatever the fuck it's called, list. And talk about like each of the points and kind of why things worked and didn't work and whatnot. So the first thing that we can talk about is venue. So the venue was the Phoenix Convention Center, which is right in the smack middle of downtown Phoenix. The venue itself is fine. Well, okay, it's mostly fine, I'll say. It's like not a huge convention center, but Anime Impulse doesn't really require like a ton of space. So I actually appreciated the way that they structured the con, where Anime Impulse. I'm gonna mention this as always. Anime Impulse is actually 3 cons typically. It's run by Lights and Sound. So Anime Impulse is Anime Impulse, K-Play, which is K-pop stuff, and then the last one is Sneaker Expo, which is really random. I always think it's random. Anyway, so the last one is Sneaker Expo, and so it's always 3 cons. And how the venue was set up was in a way that was like this. So this is, let's say this is the convention center, and then this is the front. This is the here actually. This is wait. This is gonna be outside, okay? And then this is the main lobby. Oop. All right. Oh, I'm bad at this, guys. Hold on. All right, so it's gonna be sectioned off like this. So, so this was outside. This is lobby. This is K-Play and Anime Impulse, and this is Sneaker Expo. So I actually appreciated that this was, I actually don't know what the fuck is over here, by the way. I actually appreciated a lot that the way it was set up where K-Play and Anime Impulse were together, because I feel like those audiences tend to overlap the most. So what was nice about it was that Anime Impulse and K-Play got the biggest room. It was like this giant, like very long hall. And so the venue itself was fine. Like the lobby is not super huge. I like the way that they separated things. The biggest issue, honestly, was the fact that on the first day there was like issues with security. And if y'all don't know, Impulse has a history of having kind of like a hard time with security, as in security is always hired by the venue. Security, basically how security works at events is that the venue requires you to hire their security. And that's one of the ways like they make money and whatever, that you can't hire your own security or choose. So you hire the convention security for your event. And because of that, there was a lot of like miscommunications with them. So what would happen was a lot of people would, or basically right before the convention, which opened at 11 a.m. So opening time was 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. was the con hours. So people typically will line up for Anime Impulse like an hour or two beforehand to try to get inside the con early. But the thing was that the line was like massively long. Like the line was like all the way outside in 116-degree weather, or like 100 to 116. Let's just say 100 to like 110, because 116 was like peak weather. So it was like really fucking hot outside. And here they have like a little like security gate, and there's like a line, and this outside part is covered, but that's it. It's only one small little area. And yeah, they had like a fan. I'm drawing a fan for you guys. And there's like a little fan here that helps like cool people off, because it's like an air-conditioned fan that blows like a giant fucking fan, right? But that's only so much you can do when it's super hot outside, and only the people who are already covered are the people who are getting this. And security was really thorough, which is fine, right? Security being thorough is fine, because then it means like everyone's safer and blah 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 blah. So but they were really checking bags, they were going through metal detectors and all that stuff. And because of that, people were stuck out line for like 2 to 3 hours. Some people were outside in this scorching heat, in cosplay, stuck outside in the Arizona heat with no like overhang. There's not really any like awnings or anything for people to stand under besides the little canopies they put out right outside the convention center. And I don't know too much about what was happening outside, because again, I was already inside like preparing for the con, but I noticed really quickly when the con opened at 11 a.m. that it was so slow. I was like, where are the people? What the heck? And like, I think it took me, Brad, like I texted you when this happened, it took me like an hour or two to make my first sale. That's how long it took me to make my first fucking sale, because it was that slow. There was just no people inside. And I talked to my friends and some people who came in late, and they were like, there's a huge line outside, but security is just really slow. So that's why people aren't getting inside. And I'm sure a lot of people were just like too hot to just stand there, so people left. And so the foot traffic was not amazing because it was so hot and it was so hard to get inside if you were coming in very early in the day. If you came in later in the day, I talked to Miles, who is she's also a VTuber, and I met her there at that con, and she was saying that, yeah, actually, you know, it didn't take me very long to get in. Or like, you know, I kind of just walk in because it wasn't like that bad once it was like, you know, halfway through the day. But if you were there in the morning, you were stuck outside for hours, and that's awful. This is not the first time that this has happened with Anime Impulse. Actually, at Anime Impulse OC, I think 2 years ago, the same thing happened where security was like super slow. People were stuck outside in the heat. Impulse OC was really bad because everyone was on like blacktop, like asphalt, and so the sun was just like infinitely hotter out on the parking lot than it was like anywhere else. So people were literally fainting and stuff. I don't really know if that was the case in this con or like at this con, but still people were outside in the scorching heat. And so it made it really difficult for attendees to get inside, and it was just like a huge problem. And that was day one. After day one, and after a lot of people's complaints, as far as I'm aware, Anime Impulse made a change where they would open doors an hour early. They would open doors at 10 a.m. and people could congregate in lobby. So in day two, this is, oh God, that is the ugliest fucking yellow. Okay, day two. Day two, people were able to come into the lobby early and wait in here. Which was like much better for people because they could sit in the air conditioning, not as many, like basically they could get through the security line a lot faster. And so then more people were able to get in, you know, on time, like at 11 and that kind of thing, which was helpful. I think that was really, really helpful. But I think because of the reception to day one, since it was so awful, a lot of people didn't come back. A lot of people decided not to come back, and so foot traffic was actually lower on day two than it was on day one, just because a lot of people, probably word of mouth, were like, yeah, I'm not gonna go. I actually have family living in Arizona, in kind of the Phoenix area, in the greater Phoenix area, and they were originally going to come because they were like, holy shit, anime convention in Phoenix, there's like not a lot of them, like I want to really go. And then they heard about what happened on day one, and they're like, yeah, I don't want to go through that. I'm not coming. Sorry, Meow. I just can't come. I was like, okay, that's understandable. Like, I get it. So yeah, the venue itself was fine, but coupled with the security and the heat and stuff, it made it really difficult for people. So I have to give it like a passing grade because I think the actual like convention center itself is fine. But you know, given the other factors, I think it's not that great. Oh, actually, one other thing is Phoenix Convention Center has a policy that you cannot actually sell food inside the convention center, which means that Anime Impulse's like classic, you know, food vendors can't come, and you have to buy convention food, which means that your fucking sandwich is $14 and it's like literally a piece of bread and like a piece of ham and like a cheese, and then fucking there you go, bro. $14, please. Like, it was kind of ridiculous, and it was like really mid-food. But there was no other options, right? Like, we couldn't really, I mean, you could go out in the fucking 116 degree heat and try to pick up food, which I think Jake did end up doing at one point on like day two, but on day one, we're like, dude, it's too fucking hot, I'm not gonna go outside. So yeah, because that's the venue issue. So I actually will dock points for that. So I think out of overall, I'll probably rank like venue, probably like missing like a 6 out of 10. It's not like the worst venue, but it's not the best either. It's like not quite passing because of like all these factors, but yeah, that's just my opinion on that. I think like it's not the greatest. So yeah, that's my big gripe with that whole situation. And then okay, yeah. So surrounding area, this is just like a Phoenix thing. In general, let's just fucking write surrounding area here. Surrounding area. You guys like my handwriting? Really hard to write on a tablet, actually. Okay, surrounding area. So this is Phoenix. The thing about Arizona is it's a lot of suburbs. It's just a lot of suburbs, basically, and then downtown Phoenix. Downtown Phoenix, I will say, not my favorite place. Not because it's bad. It's actually the cleanest downtown of a major city that I've been in ever. I've been in Los Angeles, San Diego, San Francisco, and like every fucking major city downtown, like New York, Boston, fucking everywhere, right? Downtown Phoenix is so clean. It's so clean, guys. It's crazy. It didn't have the weird downtown smell, nothing like that. Not in the entire downtown Phoenix. It was kind of crazy, actually. But the issue is there's no fucking parking. There's like no street parking, period. And they don't even have like meters on most places. There's only like parking structure parking, which is like, what? That sucked for a lot of my friends who fucking drove to this con and were like, yeah, it's kind of doomed, guys. Like, I have to pay $40 for parking. Like, damn it. Yeah, so there was like no parking in the surrounding areas. There isn't a ton of food. Basically, the only food that we really saw around Phoenix was like American food and like Tex-Mex Mexican, which not my favorite personally. I know a lot of people like Tex-Mex style, like Mexican food. Not my thing. I like just like Mexican food. If I'm gonna have Mexican food, I just want like straight up Mexican food. There's a lot of extra things that they add in Tex-Mex that's just not my thing. Like, I don't like bell peppers. I don't like the taste of jalapenos. I don't think they're bad. It's just not my thing. I like spicy, just not jalapenos. Like, and like that's the thing is that Tex-Mex has so much of that, and I'm like, I'm good, thanks. Actually, like I bought a like a burrito for dinner one day, and Jake got like I think he got like I don't know. He also got like we both got burritos, and I rarely ever get a burrito. Okay, I was like I'm feeling something different. I got a burrito, and like it was. I didn't even finish it. I ate like 3 bites and was like, I can't. It's like too much for me. It was just not good. Literally came back home and I was like, we gotta get Mexican food that's actually good. So that's just my thoughts on that. Not really my thing. If it's your thing, sorry. Tex-Mex just, it ain't it for me. I grew up in a Hispanic neighborhood. I grew up in a Mexican neighborhood. No, not Tex-Mex. No, thank you. I'm good. So yeah, surrounding area, it's like, seems pretty safe, pretty clean. It's just really hot again. The thing about it, there not being like a lot of parking and a lot of cars and whatnot is that I feel like they want to make it really walkable, but the heat makes it not walkable. So it's really hard because then at the end of the day, you end up just like Ubering and lifting everywhere, and then it's not that cheap to do that. So surrounding area, I would probably give it like a 5 out of 10. Like, there is food. A lot of things are actually closed. Okay, I don't know why, but a lot of things are closed on Sunday, which in downtowns I feel like is really uncommon. So there was like coffee shops that were just closed on Sunday and that we couldn't even get coffee for. So we had to go get like chain coffee, I think, from like some random fucking place. Yeah. Anyway, so dining area, not my favorite. We ended up, every time we would go out to dinner with friends, we'd actually go and drive out to Mesa, which is like 20 minutes away from actual Phoenix. So, you know, it's just like, it was just like different. And not quite the same, and it's very much like suburban area. Like the first day we got Mongolian Grill in, I think it was also in Mesa, and then we got, on Sunday, on Saturday was the day that Jake and I like ordered in, and we didn't end up getting like food with friends because we were just so fucking tired, and it was just like such an L day that we are just like, no thanks. But on Sunday we went and we got Korean food in Mesa as well, and so like, you know, it was just different. But yeah, I would give the surrounding area of Phoenix maybe like a 4 out of 10. Like, not that it's like bad, but there's just like not really anything to do, and it's just so hot and just so uncomfortable, and it doesn't cool down at night, y'all. The coolest it got at night was like 95 degrees. Like at like 10 p.m. It was still 95 degrees. I'm sorry, I'm from California. When the sun goes down, the heat goes away, okay? Like that, it was just not good. It was so gross. So I'm gonna give the surrounding area a 4 out of 10. I honestly think it was like not the greatest. And actually, and I'm kind of going to talk a little bit about the surrounding, like in this section too, and my score is not going to change. I'm going to talk a little bit about like the convention scene specifically in Phoenix and why this con actually had issues, like kind of like making it or doing well in this con. And this is like a really, something I learned like basically on the last day or whatever. But Phoenix has this thing, or Arizona has this thing. If anyone knows, is from Arizona or has tried to table in cons in Arizona, you will know that Arizona only has a few conventions, especially like specifically anime conventions. And the reason is because it's the same group of people who run every single convention. They actually have a monopoly in Arizona for anime conventions, where they basically book out the prime times where when conventions should happen, basically, and like prime weather and whatever, and they book out Phoenix Convention Center so that no other cons can really take that place and compete with them. Because basically no one's gonna really try to go to a convention if there was just one recently in like a city. Like if a con, basically you will have a lot less success as a convention if you try to table 1 month before, 1 month after a major convention or convention that is more established than you. So because of that, a lot of cons don't even try to make it into Arizona. Like that's just the thing. Like UwuCon, Fan Fusion, like all of these major Arizona cons are all run by the same group of dudes. And as a result, like no new conventions really try to get in. Anime Impulse Phoenix is the first con, like first outside Arizona con or first outsider con that has ever made it into Arizona and just like had an actual con. And because of that, people like locals in Arizona really only know about those handful of cons, like those like cons that always are tabling, because like, or not tabling, hosting, because that's all that's there. Like literally when I told my cousin about Anime Impulse, they were like, holy shit, the only anime con I really know about in Phoenix is like Fan Fusion, and that's like once a year. So they were really excited to hear about this other con. And then again, it's like when you have an established con fighting a new con, just like your success as a new con is greatly diminished and hurt. So it just makes it harder, you know, it just makes it a lot harder for people and for new cons to break into the scene. So I do want to give that like a 4 out of 10 as well, just because like it's really hard to be successful as a new con in Arizona because of these like stupid like politics basically. So yeah, I wanted to include that in this section because I do think it is impactful to the actual success of Anime Impulse in coming to Phoenix. Expenses. This is actually my big one that I want to talk a lot about because this is why I personally didn't break even. I think if normal circumstances, I would have been fine. But here are my reasons for why I didn't break even for expenses this time. So let's just talk about expenses. So for me, I'll just be transparent with my numbers this time, like completely transparent. I normally am like a little bit vague about it just because I know that people are like kind of like, I don't know, wishy-washy about sharing numbers and shit. But the table was $375. So I paid $375 for the table, which is again on the upper end, but again, a lot of the cons are like kind of getting to this price, like $300 or $400, which is hurting my wallet a lot. But a lot of cons are doing this now. Yeah, it's an ongoing issue where conventions are learning about how much artists can make at cons, so they know that regardless of how much they charge, people are going to try to buy your table. Artists are going to try to break into the scene, so they know they can charge that much because they're guaranteed to make that money. So yes, it is a lot, I agree. And it's hard because then it like kind of discourages new people to come in, or it's like it gives people, I don't know, like a false sense of understanding of how like the con is gonna be and whatever, because they're like, oh yes, $375 for an established con because Anime Impulse is established, and that like I'm guaranteed to like make that back, right? Not really. And you know, I didn't even, like, for context, I didn't even make table back day one. I didn't make table, which is crazy for me on day one. But I did make, you know, I did make table back and everything by day two, but here's some things. Okay, so let me pull up my numbers exactly so I can kind of just like show you what I mean. So, with waitlist at every con, that's how the market goes, unfortunately. Yeah, exactly. So on day one, I made, actually, hold on, back up. I flew to this convention. I flew to Anime Impulse Phoenix with Jake, so I bought my ticket and his, but I used points, so my flight, was actually like $0. So I'm just gonna say it was 0 because I just used points. And then hotel. So hotel was the part where I could have, you know, saved money on it. But I decided that since I was going with Jake, I wanted to kind of make it, I wanted to treat this as a small vacation for the both of us. So I was willing to shell out more money for the hotel. And I also already told him ahead of time, because he's coming as my helper, I'm not making him pay for like hotel, for food during the con and that kind of stuff. So I was covering all of that. Okay, so my hotel cost, let me actually pull up the exact number. Excuse me. Hotel, let's see. Where the fuck? Hotel. This one? What the heck? I actually literally don't know where my hotel thing. Hotel. Come on. For this guy. Oh, that's the. Okay, I can't find it exactly. It's, I'm gonna say, I think it's like 4, actually, I can check in my calculator because I think I have it saved. Okay, my hotel was $436, which is for 4 nights, 3 nights, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, the 5th, 3 nights, 4 days was the total for, so about like $100-something a day. Which is not that cheap, okay? That hotel is not cheap. It was a nice hotel. Like, we did spend like quite a lot of time there. They're really nice. We did get free breakfast, which we got to take advantage of on, oh, music buzzing, okay. We did get to take advantage of on like both of the days, more so on Saturday than on Sunday, but still, we still got to do free food, which was like helpful in terms of like, you know, funds in some way. So because of this, just upfront expenses, so table, flight, and hotel. Oops. Why is it? Okay. Hold on. My fucking pen is losing it. Okay. This total is $811. Okay. This is not including 110 Meow Puddle Monka S. Yeah, exactly. This was $811. This does not include food or Lyft. And if I were to estimate approximately how much foods and Lyft was costing total from like airport to hotel to setup to all that stuff, that's another like, I want to say $250. So another $250. So we'll just say that. So that's 1,6. All right. So that's $1,061. Okay. This was my expenses. Okay. All right. I'm gonna tell you guys how much I made per day, and kind of explain what's been going on. So again, I could have saved money on hotel by getting a cheaper hotel with sharing with friends or whatever, but I didn't, and that was a choice I made. But still, we'll give like 2 different scenarios, okay? We'll give the actual scenario, and we'll give like the hypothetical if we change things up. So on day 1, I made when raw sales, $356. That was an L day for me because it's like, ah, shit, I didn't even break table. That's, you know, guys, I'm gonna be entirely honest with you. When I go to conventions, I don't go expecting to make bank, okay? My expectation for cons is pretty bare minimum, where it's like, I just hope to break even, and it's great if I make profit. Like, it's fantastic. Like, I would love to make profit, but I'm not gonna hold that expectation because I don't want to have any kind of expectation to make myself let down. This is the first time where my expectations were basically on the floor, where I was like, yeah, break even, good to go. This is the first time. This was the worst con I've ever had in terms of profit since my first year of tabling. Just raw numbers, like not profit, like gross income. But my first con that I ever went red in. So day 2, I made even less. And this is why I say the foot traffic thing was like a problem, where it was like, I think a lot of people didn't end up coming anymore because it was just bad. Like the word of mouth basically got around, and people were like, oh, I don't want to go to the con because it's gonna fall's fucking hot, and like they're not gonna let us in and all that stuff. So I made $334. So we're gonna do math. This is $690 was my total. And oh, and I know this is the case, I made $17 of tips. This Arizona doesn't tip, guys. I learned that. That's crazy. This is the least in tips I've ever made ever. I didn't get a single cash dollar in tips, and I made $17 in card tips, which was hilarious to me. But like, yeah, anyway, so I made $707 total. All right. So I'm short. Period. I'm short. But I am short. Let's see. 69 is 1 is 7. So I'm short. I'm negative $354. Oops. So I'm negative $354 from this con. So what I like to view this as, what I'm taking this convention as, is this was just a vacation for me and Jake. A $354 vacation between me and Jake, where we got to hang out with a lot of friends, and we had a lot of fun, like hanging out with friends and stuff. And typically that's how it goes. If a con is really slow, you tend to have more fun with friends because like there's nothing fucking to do or anything like that. And we got to meet a lot of people. We got to talk to a lot of people. It was great. It was fun, but we didn't make money. And again, this is what I'm gonna say is the hypothetical situation is if I were to do this the way I would normally do cons, where if I didn't bring Jake, for example, or if I split with friends. Let's say Jake was was actually another artist I was tabling with, right? And so instead, and I wasn't also paying for his. So these numbers, let me just do this. So these numbers would look a little bit different. So let's say half of the hotel is, shit, my brain is breaking. 210 or 218, my bad, 218. And this lift cost is about gonna be half as well. So that's like 175. So instead I would be paying 375. Let's see, let's do the math. 375 plus 218 plus 175. So this would be 768. And so my loss is a lot smaller. It's only like, it's less than $100 comparatively, like if you look at these two numbers. But you know, you know, it just happens. So this is the first time I have not broken even at a con, and part of it again is like the way I decided to handle expenses at this con, and part of it is also just like the income itself was really bad. For context, in terms of kind of like a perspective, on average I will make at least $1,000 a day at a con. That is at the low end. So I didn't even break my single day average the whole weekend, which was hard. It's kind of a big L. And this is like kind of a shitty feeling from the second con after doing this shit full time. So it kind of hurt a lot, but that's okay. It happens. It was bound to happen eventually, and I'm glad it wasn't as bad as it could have been in terms of like how badly I went under and also like my experience. It's not very Cash Money of life. I agree. Thank you for sharing your experience. Of course. I just want to help people kind of like put things into perspective. And like, see, I've been doing this for 5 years. And this is my first time not breaking even. And again, it happens to everyone at some point. You know, I was really lucky because a lot of my friends' first time not breaking even was actually Anime Impulse Seattle, but I did really well that con for various reasons that I think I talked about before. But it finally hit me. It finally hit me this con. A lot of my friends actually who knew from Seattle were like, okay, we're gonna go as cheap as fucking possible for Phoenix. We're not gonna fly, we're gonna fucking drive. We're gonna all cram into a small hotel or a small Airbnb, and like we're all gonna fucking just send it together and like be really, really, really cheap. So they broke even, they did fine, like not like made a lot of profit or anything like that, but they were fine because they chose to make the strategic decision to do that. But for me, I wanted to use this as an experience, and I wanted to make Jake's experience really good because this was his first time in Arizona, period. So I wanted him to have a good time, and he did tell me he really did enjoy the con itself, like overall, because it was fun to just hang out and talk to people and make friends and stuff like that. So that's his thing. He loves socializing, so he was really happy about it. And so that, to me, that's a W. That's fine. If I take a fucking like $300 hit to the face, that happens. It happens. You know, I could have got you this money away, but instead, I spent it on a good time. So, so you know, you win some, you lose some, I guess. 5 years of never going red is crazy. Legitimately and incredibly impressed. Thank you. Yeah, I'm. You know, a lot of that was me strategizing a lot to get there. So it wasn't like I just like happened upon 5 years of never going red, right? I was always very strategic about how I did my expenses and whatnot. And this time I chose to be more expensive, or like put more into my expenses, upfront expenses and whatnot, because of like external factors, being like I'm with Jake and all this stuff. So like maybe in another timeline this could have gone better, but you know, I kind of want to show people that this was a choice. It's a choice to go red, but there's a lot of choices you can make to make your expenses higher or lower, you know, depending on like what you want to do. So yeah, you're godlike. Thank you. Not everyone can pull that TV how most couldn't, I think. Well, hopefully if you're in the business, you're making a lot of healthy business decisions. I was gonna say business choices and then business decisions, so then I was business to choices. Anyway. So yeah, hopefully if you're doing this, you know, you live and you learn, you make decisions and stuff like that. So this was a calculated L on my behalf. I just am sad that it ended up being an L. Like there was a chance of it happening, and you know, that was just my bad. Healthy decision, what's that? True. I did spend this past weekend $60 on getting the Marciana skin, and I have zero regrets whatsoever. Except my wallet is a little sad after, you know, Con L, but you know what? It's okay. Marciana's so fucking hot, guys. I couldn't help it. I'm sorry. Yeah. It happened. So, expenses for me, personally, it's gonna be a 0. No, it'll be a 1 out of 10 because, like, you know, I did make these choices myself, so that was a me problem. But I don't think housing in Arizona, like lodging, like hotels and whatnot, are actually that expensive. I just chose to go to a nicer hotel, so I'm just gonna put this as a 1 out of 10 for me because yeah, that was me. My food expenses are never an L. You're so right, bestie. Yeah. See, I think I've still spent less than $100 US on Nikkei, so you know what, W. Not including merch that I've made or produced, because that makes my money a lot lower, actually. In-game, I've spent less than $100. All right. So let's talk about travel and lodging. How do you spell lodging? Lodging. All right, travel and lodging. I kind of talked a little about this. Ah! Sorry, I'm dropping things. All right, I talked a little bit about this in that basically everyone I knew who had to go to this con had to fly or drive. It would have been an okay drive for me, but I just wanted to fly because it's easier. And I had the points to do it, so I flew. The flying was fine. It was a pretty easy flight. It was like 40 minutes, not a long flight, 40 minutes an hour, something like that. It was pretty short flight. And the hotel we stayed in was quite nice. But again, one of the more expensive ones. It was just me and Jake, so we were just sharing a hotel room. And that was helpful. That was nice. But I think by the time I selected, or basically when I was booking a hotel, there were like varying prices. I think for like a king bed, you know, hotel in the downtown Phoenix area, it was, I want to say anywhere between $250 US to $500. So I was definitely on the upper end. But also we were half a mile from the convention center. Literally on one of the days we walked home, so like, you know, saved money on Lyft there. So I don't think lodging is particularly bad. Traveling around Phoenix sucks because of the thing I was talking about earlier, where there's like no parking whatsoever in Phoenix. So everything's like paid parking up the asshole and just like a lot of issues in general. And you gotta like Lyft everywhere basically. So that was kind of rough. So Lyft is not super cheap in Arizona or anything like that. It's like normal. Not bad, not great. I had a really funny experience though. So people who kind of know a lot of states bordering Mexico, there's a lot of people who immigrate from Mexico to like the surrounding states like California, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, God. And so a lot of our Lyft drivers were actually Spanish speakers. It was very cute, actually. Like, I talked to a lot of them just because it was kind of like, you know, whatever. I was willing to talk to people and stuff like that. But there was one Lyft driver that I really like kind of stuck in my brain, and I'm really happy about this experience. I think it's just so sweet. It was like the day of teardown. So we were on our way back to our hotel. And so I called the Lyft and this guy pulls up, and we had to pull our suitcases into the trunk. And I lift up my suitcase, which again is about 50 pounds, and I lift it up and I put it in the trunk. And I have 3 of those suitcases. And then the guy lifts up one, and then he puts in another, and I put in 2 suitcases and he puts in 1. And he looks at me and he goes, "Do you go to the gym?" And I was like, "No, I just do this." And he was like, "Are you a superhero?" And I was like, "No, but thanks for saying that." Because I'm like this tiny little, I'm me. I'm so small, guys. I'm 5'2". I'm what, 100? Oh shit, I always forget. 162 centimeters, something like that. Wait, what's my height in centimeters? 5 feet 2 inches in centimeters. 157 centimeters. 157 centimeters. Yeah, so I'm small. My cat is so strong. I'm strong. Yeah. So this guy, he's like probably in his 50s. This very heavy Puerto Rican accent. Yeah, 162 sounds kind of high. Yeah, that's like, I think that's like 5'4", 5'5". And anyway, I'm 157. So it was really cute because he was like, "Are you a superhero?" And I was like, "No, I just do this." And it was just really cute. And then on our way back to the hotel, he was asking me like, "Oh, what is this for? Like, why do you have all this stuff?" And I was like, "Oh, I just table it at a convention." And I noticed he had a Puerto Rico flag on like his dashboard, and I was like, "Oh, este Puerto Rico?" And he's like, "Sí, hablas español?" And I was like, "Sí, un poquito." And he's like, "Oh, okay." And so he started speaking to me in Spanish, and he seemed really excited because his English he seemed to have a really hard time speaking English, and so he was really quiet until I asked him if he was from Puerto Rico and if he speaks Spanish. And he seemed really excited to talk, and he was like, oh, so what was this convention? And I was like, oh, it's actually an anime convention. And he was like, oh, anime. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, oh, I really love watching anime. And I was like, oh, really? And he's like, yeah, my favorite animes are Inuyasha and Hunter x Hunter. And then he said this other one that it's kind of an obscure anime that I didn't even know. I had to look it up, but I can't even remember the name of it. But I think it's like Senku or something like that. Anyway, so he was just telling me about his favorite animes, and it was so precious. He was just telling me like, yeah, like, you know, it's really sad because I want to watch a lot of animes on Netflix, but they don't have Spanish subtitles or Spanish dub, so I can't watch a lot of it because they only have it in English, and my English isn't very good, so I can't actually watch it. So I had to watch a lot of animes on YouTube where people do fan translations, and I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And so he was like, so I ended up watching a lot of really old anime because that's all that's available for me to see since, oh my god, I just unplugged my headset. That's all that's available for me to see because, like, you know, not everyone has the translations for it. And so that was just very cute. He was just telling me about his favorite animes, and then he was like telling me like, oh, do you have any recommendations for like those action animes? Like, and I was like, oh, like shonen? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, oh man, I don't know. Maybe you would like, I don't even remember what I recommended to him. Cause I was like, I don't really watch shonen. So, oh, I don't even watch anime period, but like, I was like, just listening to him talk about his favorite animes were very, very precious. And so, yeah, he was like, maybe one day you can make merch of stuff like that. And I was like, maybe, but I don't know. I thought it was cute that this, like, I was really struggling, guys. There were so many words that he was saying to me about like anime and like action stuff that I could not keep up with. I literally told him my Spanish is like okay, and bro just fucking started rapid fire Spanish talking to me about like the plot of his favorite animes, and I was like, oh god. And then at the same time I'm trying to translate for Jake because he doesn't speak any Spanish about what the fuck our conversation is. Oh, he said his favorite animes are ones with kaijus. But yeah, anyway, it was just really wholesome. It was really, really cute. I was very, very happy with like that conversation, and it made me feel very good about myself. Cause like, I don't know, he just seemed like a really like sweet older guy who didn't really know very much Spanish or very much English. So like, he probably doesn't get a lot of people who can like who talk to him in Lyft, like his writers. So I think he was excited to talk to like a young person in Spanish about something probably that he never gets to fucking talk about, I assume. Like, I doubt in a normal situation that you would talk like you would get into like this 50-year-old like Puerto Rican guy's car and be like, oh yeah, what's your favorite anime, senor? Like, I don't think that's gonna happen, right? So like, it just happened upon like talking about one of his favorite things, which was anime, and so he was like really happy about it, and that made me very happy. But yeah, anyway, travel and lodging, not bad, not the greatest. I think it's passing. I'll give it a 7 out of 10 because it's not like bad. It's just like the surrounding area plus the travel and lodging makes it kind of difficult. Yeah, sorry for the tangent, but it was a cool time. Okay, Artist Alley layout. I have a few complaints. Not major, however, they are complaints because I think that there's some things that could have been done better. Let me just make my canvas a little larger so I can actually like fucking. Okay, there we go. So, let's see. This is Artist Alley. Artist Alley layout. All right, so I wouldn't say that they're major issues. They're just like issues. So let's say this is the this is the hall, okay? Actually, I wonder if I can pull up a map. Hold on, guys, hold on. This might be easier. Anime Impulse. I wonder if I can pull up a map from Phoenix. Shit. No! Anime Impulse, Phoenix. Where's the parking? Not the parking, the map. Event map. Oh, here it is. Actually, the fuck is this? Huh? Sorry, hold on. My brain. Okay. I've reoriented myself. I got it, guys. I've got it. I've got it. All right. Here's the map. All right. So, here is the map of Anime Impulse Phoenix. And if I recall, actually, please hold. I need to redo this, actually. Copy image. Why is this so shitty? What the fuck? Hold on, guys. Hold on. Can I zoom out? Alright. Hey, my like memory map, oops, it's actually quite good. Remember earlier I was like, oh yes, this is the structure of Anime Impulse. Like I was actually right. Look at this. This is pretty accurate. Like this is the lobby, this is Sneaker Expo, this is Anime Impulse and K-Play. Like I did pretty good. Okay. So here's the thing, guys. So this is gonna be, I'm gonna annotate this map for you. This is the lobby. Was Sneaker Expo good? I don't ever go over there because it smells like weed and rubber and I'm never down. So this is the lobby. And this here is Anime Impulse Artist Alley. Actually, I think this part here is K-Play, technically. Hold on. Okay, wait, let me do... This is gonna be Impulse, and then this is gonna be K-Play. So this is, I think this is K-Play. And this is Anime Impulse. And this is the door. These are the doors to get in, okay? So the rest of these like other big boxes that are here, those are all like exhibitors and shit. The decos in the back. The entrance to the vendor vendors. This is vendor entrance. And my table, if I can even fucking read these letters. I think I'm here. Wait, no, I'm here. I think this is me, if I recall. Something like that. I don't fucking know. I can't see. Wait, actually I can zoom in on the actual map. Hold on. Shit. Wait. Did I actually write the correct one? 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 4, 5. Oh my god, that's actually my table! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh wait, I'm one off. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. No! I was one off. Okay. I'm this one. Ahaha! That's me. Alright. So, this is me. And, so this is Sneaker Expo. I don't give a shit about that. So my major issue with the layout of the con was that Anime Impulse Artist Alley was literally in the far back corner. Like if this is the lobby, you can see here, if this is the entrance, we're literally all the way back here. You have to go so fucking far to like come to where we are. And the thing is, where it says PHX counters, like all these are food vendors. These are like the convention food vendors. So like there's like a lot of empty space. So that was like a rough thing on itself. And then also, here's the thing that was really hard for a lot of people, like attendees wise, is that the lettering, or like the lettering of the actual tables was a little weird. So let me just show you what I mean. Okay, so this first row is ZA. Oh god, that's not what I want to do. This is ZA. This is ZB. This is ZC. And then this is ZE. And then this is ZF. This is ZG. This is ZH. And then this is ZI. This is ZG, ZH, ZI, and then ZJ and ZJ. So like it kind of goes like this at the bottom here. So like the tables are a little, like the aisles didn't line up exactly, so it was really confusing for a lot of attendees, because like this is lined up right, this is lined up, and then ZE only has one side. This ZE here is literally the only ZE side. There's no matching ZE side on this side, which was really fucking weird. So I had people who had a hard time finding my booth. Yeah. Should I call it a different section? Yeah, I don't know why that it was like lined up this way. This is the one thing that I was like, okay, what the fuck? It was kind of weird, a little confusing. Like, they could have just moved all this shit over and lined it up right. And then they could have left this like a big aisle if that's what they wanted to do. Like, I think part of the reason why they had it that way was because K-Play was the first two sections, and then they like wanted a gap. But like, I feel like they should have just moved the tables over a little, you know? Like, they should have just made it like even, but they didn't. And so that was like a little bit weird in terms of like traffic flow. Yeah, so anywho, so my biggest complaints in terms, oh my god, I can't. Okay, the biggest complaints for the layout of this con were genuinely just like, one was the fact that impulse tables were way in the back. Like, I was like pretty sad that I was like basically in the far fucking corner. And the other thing is that the table, like the actual row lineups were really weird. So yeah. Also, complaint on my behalf, but that's just because I have a problem. They didn't have any gachapon machines besides like a few specific vendors having them. Like, they didn't actually have a gachapon section. Like, they didn't have the Bandai Namco gacha like counters like they do at other impulses. So I was really sad because I wanted to fucking gacha away my life. But I guess that was better for me anyway because I didn't make a lot of money. So yeah, they didn't have any. And so the only people who had gachas were like specific, you know, like vendors that just brought like a few machines with them. So they didn't actually have like an official one with them, and I didn't get to spend my money. I didn't spend money on the first day. I spent money on the last day just like to support some other artists. So I bought like those keycaps that I posted on my Discord. I bought like 2 Kirby things. And I think that was it. Yeah. I think that's all I bought at the con. Yeah. So I didn't buy a lot of stuff because I just didn't want to spend a lot of money. But yeah, anyway. I think the structure of the con itself was a little weird. And oh yeah, but kind of like to talk a little bit about from earlier, the outside thing. So like this is the lobby, and out here, oh, that is really massive. This whole area out here was like covered, like there was a canopy, but the line would stretch like all the way around the corner and shit like that. And this is all like street and fucking sun and shit. So it was like doomed for anyone who was outside. Yeah. So that was how the con was shaped, and I wish that it was better. And also, I guess one thing is, at this con, I did appreciate that the tables weren't flush against each other. I personally like it when the tables aren't like smushed against each other because it gives a little bit of space for people to like come in and out like if they need to. But the space was a little awkwardly sized, so it couldn't really fit all the way unless you were like me size. But like if you're not me size, you probably can't squeeze through the tables. So, you know, take that as you will. Yeah, and then what was the other thing? Oh, I did appreciate how big the back area is. Impulse is pretty good about giving lots of space to artists on the back end. I did not like that they didn't have any restrictions on people bringing extra tables. So there was someone in my row who brought an extra table to go behind them. So they took up basically the whole aisle. So like, you know, if the tables are like this, you know, like this, they had another table that was like this, and like each artist is supposed to get like this space. So then the aisle was just basically blocked by their table, and it was kind of like cringe, but no one seemed to really care because again, there's like those little gaps that you can like shimmy through, and also the fact that like everyone else is pretty courteous, so you could just walk around their shit. But like, you know, it made it kind of hard when people were trying to tear down stuff, like people would trip and shit, and so it was just like a mess. But yeah, anyway, don't bring extra tables, guys. That's so toxic to literally your neighbors. Don't do that, please. Like, I don't get why people on the ends aren't allowed to bring their own fucking tables, but someone in the random middle could just bring a table and stick it behind their table and give themselves the normal amount of space behind their table and the fucking another table. Like, bro, what the fuck? Sorry, guy. I like, you're probably cool, but like, that was disrespectful. So, yeah. So I will probably give Artist Alley layout. There are some redeeming factors of it, but oh, thank you. There are some redeeming factors too. I don't like that the Spotify thing is like basically porked. Okay. But overall, probably will give it like a 5 out of 10. Like, it's okay. Not amazing, but not the worst. I think location sucked more, but oh well. And all right, next rating thing. Let me just move this over actually. All right, so the next thing is staff and communication. I don't know. I never have any issues with Impulse like staff and communications. I usually think they're pretty good at that stuff. Like I think they're typically pretty solid in terms of like their communication. This isn't on Impulse, but the convention center kept on emailing us about like, please buy our electricity and our Wi-Fi, and I was like, shut the fuck up. I don't want this. Please stop emailing me. Like, I feel like they shouldn't have the right to email me 5 times in like 2 weeks for about the con. That was kind of annoying. But again, not Impulse. It wasn't their fault. It was like the convention center. And then these are pretty clear. Like when they had us go to different entrances and stuff like that, they sent out an email, and that was really helpful. Like they're pretty transparent with their artists and stuff like that, so that was helpful. And then what else? I'm trying to think. What other communication things? I think they could have probably done better with like attendees and whatnot, but in terms of like artists experience, I think their staff was fine. There was this kind of fucking hilarious incident that happened though, and I'm like literally looking at my fucking gash in my finger. During setup, I like picked up one of my boards, like my display boards, and I like sliced my finger. And I was like, oh shit, I need a Band-Aid. And Jake was like, okay, I'll go ask him for a Band-Aid. And Jake goes up to the staff and was like, hi, do you have a Band-Aid? And they're like, I don't know. Let me go ask. And so someone went off to go find a first aid kit. And then I think they come back and they're like, I can't find it. The person who knows where they are isn't here right now. But like, well, like ask them, right? And I was like, okay, sounds good. And I'm like at the table kind of like trying not to bleed out and shit. And then like Dusty comes by and she's like, wait, what happened? And I was like, I'm bleeding. And she gives me like a Band-Aid, and I was like very grateful. She had Band-Aid and she had like the alcohol wipies. So I was saved from tetanus from Dustco. Shout out to Dustco. But anyway, so Jake is standing there waiting for them for a Band-Aids, and one of the guys goes, well, there's a hospital across the street. And Jake's like, it's a cut on their finger. Like, they don't need a fucking hospital. They just need a Band-Aid. And like, I like called Jake and I was like, it's okay, Dusty got me a Band-Aid. If you can get one, you can get one. If you can't, that's okay. And so he comes back and he's like talking to me, and he's like, I guess it's bad if you have an actual medical emergency, because they are not prepared. They said to go to the hospital for a Band-Aid, and I was like, that's crazy. But eventually, like, someone came running up to him and was like, "Do you still need a band-aid?" And he was like, "Oh yeah." And so then he got a band-aid, and like a staff member came with a band-aid and stuff like that. It was just very, very nice. But oh my god, it was just funny that like some other like volunteer was like, "Yeah, just go to the hospital, bro. Like, have a cut on your finger, hospital." Like, where do you not know where your first aid kit is? You should know where this shit is. What? As an ex-medical professional, I'm ashamed. But actual like communication and staff things besides that, it was fine, it was funny, not a big deal. It wasn't like I was like actually dying or whatever, so it wasn't like actually a problem. But I would definitely give them like probably like an 8 out of 10. I think I pretty much always give them 8 out of 10. I wish that they were a little bit more clear on the vendor manual about some stuff. There were some things that were a little bit confusing. Like also, I don't know if it's like a Lyft problem or whatever, but like the addresses they provided to us to do drop-offs and stuff like that basically didn't exist. So I would have to like look at their map and try to like find it and then manually pinpoint the drop-off locations like every single time I had to get dropped off at the convention center. So I don't know what the dealio with that is, or if it was like a service road or whatever the fuck, but it was just like problematic in that way. But again, like I don't know if that's like really their issue or like something else, so I don't want to dock them points on that or whatever. Okay. Next thing is audience and timing, or audience and then timing. Audience. So, what I noticed, and what a lot of other artists noticed, is that I feel like the crowd that came to Impulse was there as like, there was a lot of window shoppers. There wasn't a lot of people who really were there to spend money, which is like fine to some degree. But I think it was like a cultural thing. And a thing that also was really difficult, honestly, was that I feel like, you know, I kind of, okay, I get it. The minimum wage in Arizona is lower than like from California and a lot of the places that like a lot of my friends are from. But at the end of the day, a lot of Artist Alley prices are standardized across the country. And usually you'll find things that are ranged. So for example, acrylic charms, usually like 2 to 2.5 inch charms, are gonna range you from $12 to $15. And like prints are gonna range you from $20 to $30, like 11 by 17 prints now. Just like in general, the market price for things has gone up just because manufacturing costs is a bit higher. Like we're getting taxed out of our assholes for importing stuff now, and like all these issues that are external factors. So the prices of Artist Alley goods are going up. I will admit to that because that is true. I've had to raise my prices in the past few years and I don't like it. I don't like raising my prices if I can help it, but unfortunately, in order to make a profit, like we have to do that. So yeah, the market value of things has gone up. However, I will say a majority of artists are understanding of this. Like we get it too. We don't want to raise our prices when we can. So where we know that cost of living is lower or higher or whatever it is, we try to make our adjustments on the range to match the location we're at. So for example, Arizona had my lowest prices for all of my goods. All of my goods were at lowest price, and so were my friends. So like my charms were like $12 each, 3 for $30, like that kind of thing. And my prints were $20, like that kind of, or I didn't have Princess Con, but like, you know, that kind of thing, right? However, if we were to go to somewhere like East Coast or like New York, you're gonna see my charms being like $15 because that's just, it just costs more to be in New York. And so like cost of living is higher and like the price of things in general, like luxury goods are higher. So that's how things are adjusted. So everything that we were selling in Arizona was already on the low end of things, you know, for a majority of artists. That being said, people were outwardly and explicitly toxic to artists, including my friends, about how expensive things were. Also, hello, Mystic Blue Gamer. How are you? How are you? Like this was crazy to me because I haven't had an experience like this in a long time. The only other time this happened when it wasn't like a con, basically where I was like in like a marketplace where someone like looked at me and was like, wow, this is fucking expensive, you're a bitch, but in Chinese. Like that's the only time that's ever happened to me, and that was at like a not con. This is the first time at a con where I've had people tell me like, yeah, an attendee was like, oh god, this is too expensive, I'm not gonna fucking buy this. Like that's crazy, shut the fuck up. Like that's so rude. We're making a living too. We're not purposely pricing our stuff to make it like expensive out your asshole, right? Like that's just so ugh, it's so rude. It happened to my friend, the same friend that someone called her a bitch in Chinese. Like, I was sharing a table with her that time, and like, I was so fucking mad, right? And then someone basically did the same shit to her again, but in English. So like, to her face was like, your stuff is too expensive. I'm not fucking paying $15 for a charm. But her charms are like 3 inches. They're big fucking charms, and they're really high quality. Like, she makes sure she doesn't change her prices across cons, but her oh my god, I can't talk. Her stock is always high quality. She always does big charms. They always have really nice clasps. They always have epoxy, and they have like a gradient background in translucent, so that there's like tinted charms and not just your plain clear charms. They're really nice charms. And so she pays more to manufacture that, so she charges what she deserves, right? To make the money back. And people straight up to her face was like, I'm not paying $20 for a print. I'm not paying $15 for a charm. To her fucking face. That's so messed up. That is so messed up, guys. Yeah, just keep it to yourself. Like, it's frustrating to me because, like, I know on the other side of it, as an attendee, there are things that you're like, damn, this is too expensive. I don't want to pay for this. But like, at the end of the day, Artist Alley goods are luxury goods. Like, you don't need this to survive, right? So people are just pricing their goods at as reasonable as a price that they can, while still understanding that it's not something that's a necessary to live good, right? And so people are just trying to make a living wage off of their stuff. So the fact that you would go up to someone and say that is crazy to me. Like, I just think that's so rude. And my friend was not the only person who experienced at this con, like the one who told me directly, but like, it's just crazy to me. I only say that to expensive figures at work. Figures at work, I'm willing. Oh, okay. I only say that to expensive figures. Artwork, I'm more willing to spend on. Yeah, for sure. And like, you know, it's one thing for resellers, and it's another thing for like people who are, you know, making the stuff for themselves. Like, personally, I don't really mind too much if you try to haggle with me a little bit, but be respectful about it. But if you're like being really rude about it, I'm gonna fucking want to charge you more. Like, I'm just gonna like tell you to get out of my face. Like, I don't need your money anyway, kind of thing. So like, I don't know. It makes me really frustrated whenever stuff like this happens, because it's people feel really entitled to your work when it's not a necessity to live. Your shop is so pretty. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you think so. But yeah, anyway, I just, that really made me upset. That plus like the window shopping. So like, I get that Arizona, probably not the highest income places, but at the end of the day, you are spending money to go to a convention, and you're going to expect to see similar things. You don't have to go to a convention. You don't have to go and spend money at the convention or whatever. But like, you know, there's a lot of free things you can do at a convention. And like, I don't mind that people window shop. I don't mind that. I think that the harder thing is when people are being rude about it. And again, kind of referring back to audience and like the issue that I talked about earlier, where Arizona has like a con bubble basically that's run by the same people. A lot of people didn't know about the con, and I think that Impulse probably didn't market the con as much as they could have. And something that my friends noticed was that Impulse was already advertising Anime Impulse OC, which is at the end of this month, like before and during Anime Impulse Phoenix. It's like the priority of what their like their event priority was obviously very skewed, and it feels kind of bad when the actual convention is not even prioritizing the con you're tabling at that's already doing poorly. And so it was just like hard to see, because like there's not enough advertising, and then also that they're prioritizing another event of theirs over the event that's currently happening, and just like all that stuff. Like it was just hard. Especially because Anime Impulse OC is already so established in California that they're gonna have a good turnout regardless of how much advertising they do. But Anime Impulse Phoenix is part of their tour. It's an outside con. It's like con that's not happening inside California, and it's going into a new market entirely. Like I think that was like my biggest gripe about like, you know, the advertising thing, just because it was like made it a lot harder. Like the fact that my friends and my family who are locals to Arizona didn't even fucking know this con was happening was like, I think a big, you know, like a red flag IMO. But yeah, so audience, I'm going to give them a failing grade of a 4 out of 10. Like, there were still people who were really, really nice. There were people who I noticed were, I think, I say earlier there's a lot of window shoppers, and that's true. But there's also, I noticed that there was a lot of people who basically window shop, and they're really, really strategic about how they want to spend their money. They're really strict about their budget, which honestly I respect, because like going to cons where people like overspend at cons is like, whenever people's cards decline, I feel so bad. I don't, like, at this con, I had one person's card decline, and that was it. But they were able to pay for it total out of, like, cash and stuff like that. But they were just like, yeah, I went over my budget by a little bit, but I still want to buy this thing. I'm like, okay, cool. But anyway, so people were a lot more strict about their budget, so a lot of people would window shop, and then they would come back to buy things. So like after they walk through the whole artist alley, they're like, all right, I'm spending money on this thing. Here, can I buy this, this, and this, and this, right? And like, that's great. That's fantastic. I love to see like a financially responsible human being. Like, that's great. Yeah, it's great. It's smart. But it did cause a lot of anxiety for a lot of my friends and I when we were like, people would just come by and they're like, that's cool, okay, bye. But I did notice a lot of people would come back, and a lot of people would be like, oh my god, I'm back, now I really want to buy this. Yeah, so, you know, take that as you will. But so it was a good mix of window shoppers and, you know, actual shoppers and stuff. I didn't find out about Anime Impulse Seattle until after it happened. Yeah, Anime Impulse Seattle kind of suffered the same problem of the advertising thing, but I will say Anime Impulse Seattle also suffered from being a month after SakuraCon, which is why a lot of artists actually struggled to, like a lot of artists, that was their first con where they didn't break even, or they like went red, because it's just like the conflict between like what people have already spent money on versus not, just like didn't do well. Like, I talked about this before, but Impulse Seattle I did well at because a lot of people were there to buy smaller items rather than prints, and all my print artist friends were basically like, all of them like went red. It just like was not good for them. So yeah, yeah, for this con, I think like everyone I know like barely broke even, or like if they made profit, they probably spent it on food, or like Lou Wood's case, he fucking bought a giant Doki Bird plush. So he like literally spent like all of his profit on this massive fucking like Doki Bird plush that definitely had to go get into checked luggage because it was so huge. So yeah, anyway, yeah, worth, exactly. So he was so funny because we were talking, and like, yeah, he was just like, yep, I made zero money now because I spent it. And I was like, I made negative money, so you know what? Understandable, have a nice day. But yeah, I'm going to give the audience a score, probably a 4 out of 10, because I do think that like the people who were nice definitely made up for a lot of it, but there were just so many bad apples. Like, that's just hard. I'm also an enamel pin person, so like, yeah, I literally at this con I bought an enamel pin, a wooden pin, and 2 keycaps, and that was it. Yeah. Feels bad that the only big con close to me is 5 hours away. Oh, I'm sorry. What? Well, if you want to share where, potentially there's cons out there that are quite good cons that are not big cons that do really well and like that have a lot of really, really cool things that happen. But I'm gonna give this a 4 out of 10. But yeah, if you're at an artist alley, if you're at a con, please be nice to artists. We're people too. Yeah. It was just a hard con for everyone. All right. Timing is the next rating. So, all right. So timing, I think in any other situation, the actual timing in relation to other cons, Phoenix did fine. However, holding a convention in Arizona in the peak of summer during monsoon season, where it is not only over 100 degrees every single day, but also there's a chance of thunder and rain and humidity and then immediate dry heat, that was a little bit of a miscalculation, IMO. And then also the fact that literally later this month, Anime Impulse has another con of Anime Impulse OC, which is like, bro, like, then it makes advertising a lot harder and like a lot of bigger real problem. And so because of that, I will rate the timing pretty fucking low, actually, because I think the heat was a big problem for attendees, and that made like a big impact on turnout, and just like the fact that it interfered with their advertising was also difficult. Also, hello, NT Piggy, how are you? What do flash flood cycles do to artworks? Is this a joke or is this like a genuine question? Because I have no idea. But I will say, humidity is a problem for artists, okay? At Anime Impulse LA, I think 2 or 3 years ago, I don't remember exactly when it was, when we had fucking RainCon, all of my prints got warped at that con overnight because it was just so gross and wet, and the leak just like destroyed like prints and hundreds of dollars of stuff. Like, it was bad, and I was literally on the other side of the room of the leak. My friend actually was one of the booths, like the primary booths, that basically got like, the leak wasn't even a leak, it was basically like an opening in the ceiling and like water was just dumping on their table, and they had to like attendees were gifting them umbrellas to like try to shield their prints and stuff. They lost like probably thousands and thousands of dollars of merchandise. So you know, it does make a big impact. So yeah, that's kind of why like the humidity thing is like an issue. But in this case for Anime Impulse Phoenix, the convention center is fine, and like it wasn't really a problem about like the humidity. It was more like it just sucked to be in that, right? It just like sucked to be in the humidity and in the heat. Like, literally, okay, I was just in New York just this past weekend, and Jake's brother and his dad were all complaining about the heat and the humidity, and Jake and I were like, bro, this is so much better than Phoenix. Like, I'm fucking vibing. Like, it was like 85 degrees and like kind of humid, and Jake and I were just like, bro, this is so much nicer than like fucking 110 degrees and like the wind blows and you feel like you're sticking your head into an oven. Like, nah, this was fine. But anyway, everyone was like complaining about the humidity in New York, and I was like, damn, this is nice, like, actually. Animation styles are really sensitive to moisture. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense, actually. That's why people put them in like faces, right? I don't own any animation styles. Those things are fucking expensive. So yeah. Thank you for the follow, Mystic Blue Gamer. Welcome to the Nakamiao. But yeah, anyway, so timing, I'm gonna literally fucking give this shit a 2 out of 10. I think it was actually really, I think it was not the greatest idea to host the con when they did. I think the reason, Mystic sounds good. The reason why they probably got the con center during this time is because the bubble of conventions probably doesn't want to host a con in the middle of fucking Arizona summer. But you know, like, so it just depends on like when you actually have access to stuff. But because of that, the heat made it really hard for people, and like just it was just kind of overall not the greatest. So I remember when I first signed up for the con too, I was like, why are they doing why are they doing this in the middle of August? But okay, whatever, sure. And then I learned later that like there's like a circuit, and so I'm like, oh, I see, okay, like they're just competing against like existing market. Okay, that makes sense. But still. So yeah, that's my thoughts on timing. Oh, hello. Hello, Ponko. Oh, hello, Boba. My dogs are here to visit. Are they staying? Oh, I will be right back, y'all. I gotta go help with some. I cannot run an ad break, so I will just be right back. Hello. Sorry. Dog is having tummy problems, so she had an accident in the bathroom, and so I had to go clean that up. But I'm back. What the fuck was I talking about? I don't remember. Where is my list? Anyone remember? I sure as hell don't. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. The frick? Alright. So, I guess we'll just go on to the next thing then. The next one is hours. As I mentioned before... Oops. Blah. The hours of the con... Oh, I didn't mention... Oh, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. And, they expect artists to be there from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And with teardown, like, you get an extra hour if you need to clean up or whatever. And then setup was like 3 p.m. till 8 p.m., which is 5 hours, which I wish that setup hours were a little bit earlier in the day because it's so hot, but they might not have had the venue until at like 3 p.m. So I don't know, it just depends. But yeah, I don't mind that 11 to 6. I think I would probably prefer maybe like 10 to 5 instead. 11 to 6 is pretty solid. But yeah, maybe my only thing is that like I'd rather have a different hours, or like basically allow for the whole day for setup on the day before, just because it's just like less traffic of people and like easier to set up and whatever. And so yeah, I think I would give this like a solid 8 out of 10 for hours. My only points for dock off are are the setup times, and actually I'll give it, and because I'd probably rather it start maybe an hour earlier or whatsoever, especially with the heat. So that's just my preference, but that's what I will rate it. And then food availability. Oh my god, you already know. Did I spell this right? Availability. Okay. Food availability sucked dick! Let's be honest, guys. They only had food that the convention center offered, which was so bad. Hi, son. How are you? And there wasn't like tons of available food around the area either. So I have to rate this really low. Like, the food that we actually got from outside was fine, but we had to literally send Jake out in the heat to go get it. We could have Ubered it as well, I think, or like Uber Eats or whatever, but we didn't. The actual con center food sucked. It was there, but it wasn't great. I'll give it like a 5 out of 10, because it was like, it was there, so if you needed it, you could have it. Wasn't great. Wasn't a lot of options. Sure as hell, if you have any dietary restrictions like me, that shit sucked. I had to pay like $14 for the most mid fucking food I ever had in my life. Yeah. So that's where I'm gonna probably put the rating at. I think that was like the last thing. So let's do an average. Let's do the averages. Okay. Let's see. So venue is 6. Surrounding area was 4. Expenses was a 1. Travel and lodging was a 7. Artist alley, that was a 5. Staff and communications was an 8. Audience was a 4. Timing was a 2. Hours was an 8. Food availability was a 5. Divided by 10 is a 5 out of 10. So total is a 5 out of 10, guys. I think that's a pretty accurate, like, representation of the con. Unfortunately, it was just had a lot of problems. And again, I don't think that all of these issues are related to the actual convention itself. Like, I don't think inherently that it's like an anime impulse problem. There's a lot of things that we rate in here that are not related to the actual like organization of the con itself. If you look, I mean, the actual like convention planning stuff, I think is mostly rated pretty okay or like passing. Like the venue, for example, or like staff and communication. Artist alley layout was like kind of mid, but it was like fine. But the other thing, and like hours, for example, like all those things were like fine. It was just like audience was not great. Food availability was not the fault of the convention, but rather the venue, surrounding area. I mean, that's a choice you make to table there or like set up a con there, but like overall, it's not like you can change that. Yeah, so that's just how the con went for me. But hopefully that gives some perspective. Would you say, as someone who's never been to ImpulseCon, is it worth going to? If you're going to go to an anime Impulse convention, I would definitely recommend you go to either Anime Impulse LA or Anime Impulse Orange County, which they happen basically 6 months apart from each other, or 6 to 8 months apart from each other. Anime Impulse LA happens in January, February, and then Anime Impulse OC happens in August, September, I think is usually where it is. And both of those are their biggest cons, because those are their original ones. I guess LA is the original, and then OC is like the second one that they did. And those are the highest turnout, best guests, you know, most amount of like availability and things to do and whatnot. So those ones are the most like fleshed out, and so I would definitely recommend going to those. And I think if you were to travel for an anime impulse, I definitely would only travel for probably LA or OC, maybe probably even just LA if you know you can help it. Otherwise, I don't know if it's worth to travel to. If you're local, definitely think it's a recommend. I think it costs like $40 to go to one, and every anime impulse actually comes as 3 conventions, as I was mentioning earlier. It's Anime Impulse, K-Play, and Sneaker Expo. Sneaker Expo, I don't really know why it's there, but it is there. There's an additional bonus 4th convention. There's an additional bonus 4th convention if you go to the LA one. You also get Asian American Expo, which has so much good fucking food because it takes place during like Chinese New Year's or like Lunar New Year's time, and it's also just like, you know, the area is more conducive to it, so there's a lot of Asian food vendors that come in for Asian American Expo to host like special events and stuff like that, and lots of food and lots of other things. So like the entire a lot of the anime impulses take place at Fairplexes. So Impulse LA, because it's at the Fairplex, basically all the indoor sections are like Sneaker Expo, Anime Impulse, and K-Play, and then the outside is all Asian American Expo, which is like food vendors, performances, and all sorts of things. So those ones, I think Anime Impulse LA is by far the best one to go to if you can. But OC is also really good, and the other ones I think are just like feel like local cons. So yeah, I personally do travel to them. I've gone to every single Anime Impulse for the past man, I don't know how many years, since like 2019 or something like that. Basically since I started tabling. And I've always done really well with them, and I've really enjoyed them. This is the first time where I took an L, but you know, it happens. So yeah, I do think it's worth it. I do think it's worth it. So yeah. I also think if you really like VTubers especially, I think Anime Impulse is a good con to go to because they have like a contract with Niji Sanji and with Hololive, so they do Holo Meet there, and they do a bunch of Niji Sanji meet and greets and stuff and concerts and whatever. So I do think they're like quite enjoyable. But yeah, I wish I was more local to the bigger ones. Yeah, I can feel that. I didn't start traveling a lot for cons until the past like, I don't know, 2 years or something like that. So, but there's definitely a lot of cons out there. Actually, I use this resource for I use this resource to find tables or like find booths and stuff like that, like what's coming up and what, like, you know, whatnot. But you can also use this to find conventions near you. So if you go to this list, to this link, you can actually find a lot of conventions. Actually, let me just pull this up on my screen. If you go to this link, all right. Oh god, this is so. Wait. Okay. So you can kind of choose to go like North America. Why the fuck is this thing? And then you can kind of like see what upcoming cons there are. Oh, wait, actually, bring that back. There we go, whatever. You can see what cons are upcoming and like where they are located and whatever. You can also choose like specific areas. So like North America, I can pick USA specifically. And then I can pick like states. So I'm in California, so I'll click California. And then I can see every single like con coming up throughout the rest of the year. Whatever's listed. So like, for example, GalaxyCon is coming up. SAC Anime is coming up. Anime Impulse Orange County is coming up. IchigoCon, Anime Wonder Festival, I will be here. Anime Impulse Bay Area, I'm also going to be there. YumeCon's coming. Anime in Pasadena. Anime Expo Chibi. San Diego Anime Con. All these cons are like all listed here. Or like if you're in fucking Nevada, Sin City Anime is coming up. Like I know there's like, you know, like some states probably have less than others. Like for example, like California just has a shit ton. But yeah, there's just like a nice hefty list, and you can find like big and small cons here. So it's a good list to have if you're looking to attend anime conventions, or if you're looking to table. For tabling, it doesn't really tell you what signups are. For example, like it's you kind of have to take a guess, like approximately when table signups will go up. Like I don't really know. Like Anime Frontier, for example. We'll just like look on here, and then like exhibitor artist alley info. Deadline already passed for Anime Frontier, and this is a con that's happening in December. So you can kind of guess like usually 6 months in advance is minimum for like signing up for a table. But in terms of like attending, you could just get a badge and go. Yeah. So yeah, hope that helps. I just think it's like a helpful resource. My state doesn't have any. Oh no! Well, if you're on the East Coast, then typically you can go to like other cons. Also, I will say something that's not really typically listed on that site is university cons. Usually, so when I first started tabling, I started tabling at like university and college conventions, which is basically a convention put on by the universities or colleges anime club. And that's where I made my start. And those are usually pretty fun. And they're like local and small, and like, you know, they feel cozier. And artists will still usually go to them, and like depending on like how big the college is or whatever. So you can definitely check those out, see if your local college has one. Even community colleges host them. I've been to one that a community college hosted, and it was pretty fun. So they exist. So like, you know, if you don't have a big like, you know, like, what is it called? Like event hosted con, there's still like university cons out there that exist. AggieCon, is AggieCon? What is AggieCon? For some reason, what the fuck is AggieCon? That sounds so familiar. Where is this? Oh, Texas. Is that what it is? Yeah, and if you are a college student too, it's like especially nice, because then like usually you get to go for free if you're a student. So it was huge from the 1970s to 1990s. Dude, AggieCon like literally sounds so familiar. So yeah. All right, cool.